Another year, another Conjuring universe movie. Let's get into it. Hey everybody, welcome back to the channel. I'm Chris. Thanks for stopping by and watching my review for Time Runner. I'm just kidding, we're not talking about Time Runner yet. Anyway, we're talking about The Nun 2 today, the sequel to The Nun, or the most boring movie you've ever seen, according to some. The Nun is fine. It's not that good, it's not that bad, it's fine. It's like all the other Conjuring movies. So when people are like, oh, The Nun is bad, well, guess what? All of these Conjuring universe movies are not great. So what is your barometer for like, this movie's a masterpiece or anything? I mean, I guess the first two Conjuring films are like at the top and then the rest of them are like down here. So does it really matter? Where are we placing these films on a hierarchy or your pyramid that, you know, The Nun is like at the bottom? Like The Conjuring 3 is bad. You know, I haven't seen all of these movies. Annabelle is bad. But for the most part, they're mediocre jump scare cities movies and they're made to make money. They're made to just be very generic and hit beat by beat by beat that they want to do. Is The Nun 2 any different? Well, you're about to find out. Before we get into that, consider going down there, hitting the subscribe button, hitting the like button, share this with anybody who wants to know if they should see The Nun 2. So let's get into The Nun 2. So The Nun 2 follows our main character, Sister Irene, who is going around doing her nun thing. She's on a monastery now after living the traumatic events of the first nun. She meets up with our girl, I do not remember her name. I just saw this movie just now and I cannot remember her name. It was something weird. It was like a normal, Sister Deborah or something. It was like a weird, actually normal name. So this like time period and they're all nuns and she's like, get Sister Deborah. Get Sister, you know, Janice. It's just some weird name. But she's a rebel, you know. She's like Whoopi Goldberg in Sister Act, you know. She's not going to wear her habit like she's going to. She's going to have the chains out, you know, with her rosary out. But she's smoking. She doesn't want to go to confessional. And this is played by Storm Reed. Something about her was just off. And I don't know that it was her. I think she's a good actress. But I think what she was given to do and the lines that she was kind of given to do didn't play up to her strength. She was great in Missing from last year, so I'll link, or maybe that was this year. I don't know, man. All these movies, just after you do this many reviews, you just get blank on when they actually came out. But I'll link my Missing review up there. I did enjoy her a lot in that movie. I was looking forward to when I saw that she was in it. I was like, okay, at least maybe she'll bring something different to this. She just kind of felt out of place as a nun. I mean, not that Whoopi Goldberg was any different in Sister Act, but she just felt out of place for me personally, but I do still like her. It didn't take away from the movie or anything, but it also didn't bring anything to the movie like I think Farmiga does in this movie, just like her mama does. But anyway, I think this movie's fine. It's not bad. It's not good. The third act is fucking bananas like all these movies are, but it's like ratcheted up. If you thought The Conjuring 2 had a crazy ending with Valek, this is like, you know, glowy eyes. Hey, I'm not going to get into all that spoiler stuff because I'm sure you don't want to be spoiled. That's why you came here. Spoiler-free review of The Nun 2. You don't want to know any of the juicy details about this movie because you're just dying to know. You got to fill that bingo card. You know, Valek backstory, blood. You thought you wanted more gore in this movie? You got it. Most violent movie ever. We kill 4 people. There's blood everywhere. Now, I would say yes, it's more violent, but that's because typically, they don't need the violence in order to do anything, and I just think it's there, you know, obligatory to exist. It doesn't really do anything. Yes, there's this one little girl in the beginning, well, I wouldn't say little, but like this teenager that gets killed, and that was pretty graphic, and I mean, that one was cool. Like, you know, we'll spoil this one moment. It's in the very beginning of the movie, but she goes in, she's delivering this stuff. Valek is there, it all goes red. She comes up, you just hear like the cracking, you see blood splatter. That was effective because you're like, okay, this is just a random person, random rampage. This person is not connected to anything. So I like that. I like when the demon is like spreading and going through its thing. But when we're like killing priests and killing people that are all connected, it really doesn't mean anything because it doesn't matter in this universe. So I think the story is bad. I think it's a bad story for them to tell. They wanted to tie this up in a neat bow to connect it to The Conjuring, which they do in a credit scene, which is not spoiling anything. It's just dumb. So stay, I guess, if you go see this, stay for the mid-credit scene, which is literally like 3 minutes after the movie ends. So you can make it, I'm sure. It's just a dumb add-on, and I think it's unnecessary and also adds and complicates this movie and leaves gaping plot holes in some of the stuff, which I don't know that really matters. I don't know that anybody's going to these movies being like, well, 17 movies ago, it's like some Marvel timeline shit that we've got going on, but with the Conjuring universe. I'm sure there's somebody out there that can put this all together and tell you what the exact plot holes are or how they fit in or how they do this and that. It's just not going to be me. I want to talk about one thing I do like. So before we get more negative, I do want to talk about some aspects I do like. There are some visual things that I think are cool. It's in the trailer, so it's not spoiling anything, where they like have all these magazines flipping open and stuff, and it has like the silhouette of Valek, and it like pops out and grabs it. I think that was cool visually. The jump scare thing where they pan away and pan back, that's stupid, but I like the visual aspect of that. There's a part where Maurice, who is from the first one, so if you've seen the first Nun, you have Irene and Maurice, they saved it. Something was attached to Maurice, if you know what I mean, and so that's how Valek is still existing. We know Valek doesn't get killed in this because she's in the Conjuring movie, so it's one of those movies, again, that can't justify its own existence because we know the demon doesn't die, so it's just kind of like it means nothing, it's meaningless, so these characters just did all of this shit for nothing, really, because Valek comes back later on. Even if it's not in their lifetime, even if it doesn't revolve around these characters, it's still stupid that we're like, hey, all this stuff happened, but guess what? Valek's coming back, so it really doesn't fucking matter. Anyway, but there's also another scene where Maurice is like walking away after something's happened, and you see this big shadow of Valek behind him. I like that. So there are some interesting shot composite stuff here. The rest of the movie's pretty flat. I mean, it's pretty substandard, so don't go anything like visually. I mean, I think some of that stuff's cool, but overall it's pretty bland. So I just think it's a messy story. I think it's well acted. I don't think anybody here is like doing a bad job, but there's just random stuff in this movie that doesn't make sense. Like they're going to the school, they're tracking Valek through all these things. Like I said, I don't want to give too much away, but they're tracking Valek. They figured out how she's come back and where she is, and so they go to this school where Maurice is now, and obviously they're following this trail in order to do it. And there's another artifact. First one we had literal Jesus Christ blood. We're just making this shit up as we go. And this one we've got some eyes. I don't know, some old Vatican bullshit that they've got going on in this movie. And so that's our catalyst, that we've got to beat Valek. And none of this shit works. I mean, you would think the first time, if the literal blood of Jesus Christ could not stop your demon, what the fuck do you think some eyes are gonna do? I don't know. But anyway, I think the movie's fine. It's not bad. Do I regret seeing it? No, it's fine. During this season, I know typically I cover weird and obscure stuff. If this is your first time here, I cover weird and obscure stuff. So I don't typically do a lot of these big, studio pictures. But during this time, I like to get out there and get with the crowd, see the horror movies, middle of the day. That's what I like to do. I actually don't like to go into movies with a bunch of people. But, from Headhunter, The Ghost of Frankenstein, we cover The Dentist. I'll link that up there with a recent review. But I do like to go out during this Halloween season because this, for me, is the studios putting their best foot forward, going like, this is the best we have for horror right now. Other than A24, which just throws their shit whenever they want. But unlike Lionsgate, who threw Cobweb in the middle of July, which is a fantastic movie that got buried under the weight of Oppenbarber, whatever that crap is, those two movies. And so I like this because I'm like, good, here's the studio's chance to kind of put up the pomp and circumstance and give us The Exorcist Believer. Don't know if that's going to be good. But anyway, we've got a 5-night affair. We've got all the big movies coming. And so I like to go out there and kind of see what they're putting out in comparison to what I normally do. It also gives me a palate cleanser from the stuff that I do. So if you want to check out more of my channel, please do. My reviews take a long time. They're weird movies. They're obscure. Not a lot of people click on The Dentist. They're not like, ooh, what's the dent? They're not clicking on that. But maybe you will. But if you enjoyed my review of The Nun 2, go check out all that stuff. It's great. You can go back to last year. We covered a bunch of stuff during this time. So we're going to have a lot of fun. If you have any recommendations for stuff that you think I should review, let me know down below as well. So again, should you see The Nun 2? Is it worth it? I don't know. If you've got, an AMC pass or a Regal pass, go see it, go pregame a little bit or whatever you do and, have a fun time. The problem is it's not a bad movie by any means. There's nothing in it that is inherently so stupid that you can have fun laughing at. So in that aspect, it's not a really fun movie. It's not a bad, fun movie to go see. So I think if you're interested in this universe, you already know if you're going to go see this movie or not. But if you're not, I think you should just wait to streaming, which is what I did with the original Nun. So I don't think you're not missing anything out. What I wanted from this movie was some backstory to Valek. I didn't get that. I didn't get anything. I left with no more knowledge than I had before. So in that instance, as a prequel to Valek in these other movies, it is pointless. So that's all I've got. Thanks for stopping by and watching my review for The Nun 2. Again, let me know down below, are you seeing The Nun 2? Did you see The Nun 2? What else do you think I should review? I'm going to link some videos for you at the end as always, and I'll talk to you guys in my next review.